Mortician's Tale is a short management video game developed by Laundry Bear Games, released in 2017. It is very much a critical darling, a kind of game that opens a space that wasn't previously being used, is reasonably quick to play through, and touches on a very heavy subject material, which means that writers get to do something different. It isn't a game with gunplay or systems or even any kind of what I would consider unguided play. Very linear, very simple. You are at no point going to be left adrift for working out what to do. There is no point-and-click puzzle problem here. This is all perfect for making it extremely desirable for critics and games reviewers who particularly want something that they can dig into, rather than just treat it as another game. As far as my opinion on it there goes, it's quite fine. It's good. I thought it did a good job of communicating what it wanted to communicate. I have been thinking about this game a lot. Games let us play with ideas. Sometimes those ideas are how cool colonialism is, or what a great job economic engines do converting effort into little cubes. When it comes to the genre of horror, typically speaking, conventional horror lets us play with horrifying and dark ideas. There's a reason why they are often grungy and sleazy and scary, because we can find the attraction in all of those experiences at once. That there is a playful, nihilistic, anarchic sense hovering around, a willingness to examine death. And more power to it, right? Doom is, in all adornments, a horror game. You're fighting zombies and demons. A Mortician's Tale wants you to play with the ideas around grieving. It wants you to understand rituals of death, both your own and other people's, of the legitimate politics around moments of death, around control by the living. Sad, deeply distressing thoughts about who will sweep up after your life when it's all over. This game came out in 2017, when death was removed from a lot of perspectives. Death isn't so removed right now. A surprising number of people are dealing with immediate bereavement in ways that they weren't thinking they would have to 4 or 5 years ago. And that bereavement is bringing with it isolation, because the nature of the death that stalks the land right now is one that means we cannot be present when they die. We cannot gather to grieve in the way we did. Many rituals that we had, many assumptions about funerals and about death are missing. we have become a ghost of our own rights. And there is a thought there about playing a video game and sharing that experience with others to communicate with them about loss and tragedy. But I don't think that's what I want to talk about. I have been untouched by the current circumstance, in part because I know that if I was touched, it could go very badly. I'm friends with people with respiratory problems, and people who are immunocompromised. A number of my friends have contracted the disease or are essential service workers. Early this year, I resolved that I would talk about this game. A little scribbled note in a planner that I had set up. And I did so thinking that it would be good to talk about the rites and the rituals. But now, when I was recording this footage, I was waiting to hear from a friend who had gone into surgery for cancer. These past few weeks have been a roller coaster of talking to people who are themselves confronting these ideas about being gone and about being remembered. And it left me wondering if I could even handle talking about this game. If I had it in me to share this experience. Not even as someone dying, or of someone grieving, but of someone looking at an ocean between me and one of my dearest friends, and realizing that there was going to come a point where that chat connection would never change, and there would be no more updates, and there would be no more messages ever again. And that not even the most romantic or driven of emotional reactions of flying out to be there in the end is even an option right now. I remember attending my first funeral when I was 6. It was of a lovely lady at our church who had passed away, as it was at the time, from cancer. Because of who we were, I did not know it was breast cancer until many years later. Because that word is dirty. In that same church, several years later, another man died of cancer. And I remember him, as an adult, approaching me as one of the things he wanted to do for his end of life. And approaching me, a child, and asking me to still be friends with his daughter. Because he wanted someone to look out for her, who was her own age. I remember learning that that man had stopped cancer treatment because his pastor had counseled him to instead take supplements that the pastor was selling. And I think that's when I realized that I had actually met someone who was genuinely evil. And there were bad funerals. And several years later, as I watched that pastor's hearse roll past my school, I consider that there were some very good funerals indeed. I have no idea how much of this audio I'm going to use. It is a day after the waiting. My friend woke up, got a get well soon card, and we spent the day talking about Final Fantasy and tactics games and terrible puns and old Canadian TV. And I think about this game. And I think about how, in the worst of those moments, how much I would need someone who had walked this way before to be able to step me through something even as difficult as starting to grieve for something so important to me. I think Mortician's Tale is a really good little game. And I think that the kind of people on Steam who give it the thumbs down for not having enough gameplay experience or not enough free choices are a bunch of doofuses. I'm glad I got to play this, and as strange as this is, I'm glad I got to share with you these stories about how it made me feel.